Have you ever thought about what really happens when you completely vanish from someone's life? I'm not talking about just stepping back a bit. I'm talking about disappearing. No messages, no calls, no trace of you anywhere. What would they actually feel when you're gone for good? In a world where people think they can walk all over you without consequences, it's time to flip the script, disappear, and watch their entire world crumble. This is the one video you need to see today. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where someone took you for granted, treating you like you were just an option, then this video is for you. Today, we're diving into a powerful concept: what someone truly feels when you suddenly vanish from their life. I'm going to take you through 10 intense emotional stages they'll go through once you're out of the picture. By the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply walk away and never look back. Are you ready to reclaim your power? Ready to make them feel your absence like never before? Drop a comment below with "I'm done being an option," because after this video, that's exactly what you'll be. No longer an option. Stick around until the end, because there's a bonus emotional stage they'll go through, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Let's dive right in and change everything. Stay tuned. Number 1. The crushing blow of rejection. This is where the emotional roller coaster starts. They never imagined you'd actually vanish, at least not for good. In their mind, you were the constant, the one who always put in the effort, the one who cared, the one who made things happen. You were the person they could always count on. And then, poof, you're gone. The sudden disappearance is like a punch to the gut that they never saw coming. You've probably heard the saying, "You never know what you've got until it's gone." Well, that's exactly the gut-wrenching reality they'll face when you disappear from their life. This isn't just about your absence. It's about everything you brought to the table: the comfort, the support, the reassurance that you'd always be there. When you vanish, it's like ripping away the emotional safety net they've grown so used to. Here's the kicker: they don't even realize it at first, but you were never just a backup plan. They took you for granted, thinking you'd always be there to catch them when they fell. And now, with you gone, they're left in freefall. For the first time, they can't control you or your presence. They start to panic. How did this happen? How did they let you slip away? The rejection stings 10 times harder when you've been emotionally available. They took your love, your time, your presence as a given. They assumed you'd always stick around, no matter how little effort they put in. Maybe they even believed they were doing you a favor by keeping you in their life. The true irony: they thought they were throwing you breadcrumbs, but you were the glue that kept everything together. Here's the secret: if you want them to truly feel that sting of rejection, don't give them any warning. Don't tell them you're leaving. Don't beg for attention. Don't drop hints or give them an ultimatum. Just disappear. The shock hits so much harder when they're blindsided. No explanations, no closure, just silence. It forces them to confront their own behavior, and that is what makes them feel the weight of your absence. Walk away with your head high and don't look back. Let them feel the rejection, and trust me, it will hit them harder than they ever imagined. The person they thought they could always manipulate and take for granted, gone. Let them face the consequences of their actions. The impact is real, and they'll never forget it. Number 2. The gaping void of missing you now. The real fun begins. Once the sting of rejection starts to fade, they're left with something far worse: the emptiness. Oh, they never thought they'd miss you, right? In fact, they probably told themselves that your absence wouldn't affect them at all. "I'll move on. It'll be easy," they thought. But what happens when you actually vanish? They start to feel the void, and trust me, it's not just any void. It's a deep, gnawing emptiness that can't be ignored. At first, everything seems normal. They go through their daily routine, living life like they always did. But little by little, something's missing. And that's when it hits them. You were the spark. You were the one who made everything feel meaningful. You were the energy, the warmth, the emotional stability they didn't even realize they relied on. Without you, everything feels flat, bland, lifeless, and dull. When someone takes you for granted, they think you're just background noise. They assume the dynamic between the two of you is replaceable, but here's the truth. No one brings the same energy you did. They might try to fill the void with someone else, try to distract themselves with friends or new relationships. They might dive into work or bury themselves in hobbies, but none of it works. The void remains, persistent, undeniable, and growing with every day that passes. Nothing can replace what you brought to their life. That emptiness eats away at them. It's a constant reminder of what they lost, and it stings because they never thought they'd feel this way about you. Here's the kicker. They didn't value you when you were around. They thought they could do better, or worse. They thought you'd always be there. But now that you're gone, everything changes. They start to miss the little things, the way you made them laugh, how you understood them like no one else, the way you simply made life better. Those small, everyday moments that once seemed insignificant. They suddenly crave them, but you're nowhere to be found. When you disappear, don't just ghost them. Disappear completely. Block them on social media, erase your number, make it impossible for them to casually check in on you. The more they realize they can't reach you, the deeper that void will grow. Every time they try to contact you and find only silence, it digs in even deeper. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Let them sit in that emptiness and slowly come to terms with it. Because here's the harsh truth. People never appreciate what they have until it's gone. And trust me, when they feel that void, they'll start to truly understand the depth of what you brought into their life. Let them miss you. Let them regret how they took you for granted. The more they feel that ache, the more they'll realize you were irreplaceable. Number 3. The intense grip of curiosity. By now the void is deep, and they're starting to unravel. The next stage is where things get interesting. Curiosity. And trust me, it's an overwhelming force. The one burning question in their mind becomes, where are they? What are they doing? Who are they with? They can't stop thinking about it. You've become a mystery, a puzzle that they desperately need to solve. It's unsettling, and nothing is more torturous than not knowing what's happening with someone who used to be such a big part of their life. In today's digital age, this curiosity skyrockets. They'll check your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any platform they know you're on, desperately trying to catch a glimpse of what you're up to. But here's where you have the upper hand. You've gone completely dark. No updates, no stories, no posts, nothing. And this silence, it's driving them wild. Why? Because human beings can't stand the unknown. When you vanish, their mind goes into overdrive. Have you moved on? Are you seeing someone new? Are you happier without me? They can't handle the uncertainty, so they dive into the depths of obsession. This is when they might start reaching out to your mutual friends, trying to get any bit of information about your life. They'll ask questions, pretending they don't care, but we both know the truth. They care more than they're letting on. It's almost comical to see someone who once thought they could live without you, now desperately trying to figure out what you're doing, where you're at, and who you're with. Here's the thing. Curiosity is a powerful beast. When they can't get the answers they crave, their mind starts filling in the gaps. They'll imagine you with someone else. They'll picture you living your best life without them, more fulfilled than ever. And that thought? It eats away at them day by day. What started as a passing curiosity will grow into a full-blown obsession. And the best part? The more you leave them in the dark, the more they'll crave answers. So how do you fuel this fire? Disappear completely. Go off the grid. Don't post anything that might give them a clue about your life. Let them stew in their own thoughts, wondering what you're up to. Every time they reach for their phone, hoping for something, only to find nothing, the weight of their curiosity will grow heavier. It's maddening. And here's the ultimate twist. You now hold all the power. Their curiosity is your secret weapon. Don't give them answers. Give them silence. Silence is your strongest weapon. And the more you embrace it, the more it will drive them crazy with desire to know what's happening in your world. Let them burn with it. They'll never forget what it feels like to be left in the unknown. Number 4. The crushing weight of self-reflection. Now things take a turn, and it's not pretty for them. After days, maybe weeks, of desperately wondering where you are and what you're doing, the reality finally hits. They can no longer avoid it. It's time for the gut-wrenching self-reflection, and it's about to get deep. They begin asking themselves the tough questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I screw this up? The regret starts creeping in like a dark cloud. And believe me, it's not easy to swallow. Here's the thing. Most people hate to admit their mistakes. It's human nature to deflect, to avoid responsibility. But when you vanish, you force them to face those mistakes head on. You're no longer there to calm them down, to reassure them, or to smooth things over with a simple text. You've gone silent, and now they have to deal with their own behavior, and trust me, it's brutal. They replay every interaction in their mind, going over everything they said and did, wondering if they could have done things differently. They'll remember the times they ignored your messages, the moments they brushed off your feelings, and the countless times they made you feel like you were an afterthought. It hits them hard because deep down they know you were something special, and now you're gone. All they're left with is the bitter realization that they had something real, something worth holding on to, and they took it for granted. This is where it gets tricky for them. The self-reflection isn't something they can dodge anymore. They can't blame you or make excuses for themselves. You're not there to argue with or to give them another chance. They're forced to look in the mirror and face the truth. They were the problem, and that's a hard pill to swallow. As the days drag on, the guilt gets heavier. They begin wishing they could turn back time, wishing they could undo the things that pushed you away. But it's too late. The damage is done. And during this time, don't reach out. Don't try to explain your side of things or get them to understand why you left. Let them sit with it. Let them process their mistakes on their own. Self-reflection hits hardest when they're left to their own devices. The longer they have to think about it, the clearer it becomes. They were the ones who messed up. Let them feel that weight. The guilt they experience is the most valuable lesson they'll ever learn. It's their responsibility now, and they have to face it alone. Number 5. The relentless urge to pursue you. By now, they've been stuck in a cycle of self-reflection, and something shifts within them. They go from questioning their own actions to wanting you back. The tables have completely turned. You were once the one chasing them, putting in the effort, caring more than they did. But now, the tables have flipped. Suddenly, they're the ones doing the chasing. The urge to pursue you becomes all-consuming, and they can't shake it. They start thinking about you non-stop, wondering if there's any way to fix things, if it's too late to make things right. You'll notice the signs. They'll start sending messages like, "I've been thinking about you," or "I miss us," trying to open a door back into your life. They might like your old posts, even drop a comment just to see if you'll respond. Maybe they'll send you a late-night message after a couple of drinks, hoping that the liquid courage will lead to some kind of reconnection. But here's the truth. They're chasing you now. They've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back, and now you're the one holding all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but the most important thing you can do right now is not respond. Don't give in to their attempts. Let them feel the desperation, the frustration, and the anxiety of not knowing if you've moved on. The more they chase, the more they'll realize that they've lost control, and that drives them wild. You've worked too hard to regain your worth, and now is not the time to let them slip back into the driver's seat. You're no longer the one who needs to prove your value. They do. Let them come after you, but don't reward their efforts with attention. Silence is your most powerful tool right now. Every moment of silence makes them question whether they'll ever get you back, and that uncertainty is a bitter pill for them to swallow. When they start chasing, don't give them the satisfaction of knowing where you stand. Let them stew in that frustration. Let them feel the sting of wanting something they can no longer have. Keep your power and let them feel the consequences of taking you for granted. You're the one they want, but they have to earn you now, and they'll have to learn that the hard way. Number 6. The tug of war between relief and regret. At first, when you disappear, they might experience a fleeting sense of relief. It's that initial rush of freedom where they tell themselves, "Finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore." They may even feel a sense of victory, thinking they're better off without you. But here's the kicker. That so-called freedom, it's nothing more than an illusion. Sure, it feels exhilarating at first, but it's superficial and short-lived. They might go out, hang with friends, maybe even swipe right a few times, feeling like they've got it all figured out. But as soon as they find themselves alone, sitting in the silence of their apartment or mindlessly scrolling through their phone, that's when the regret starts to creep in. They begin to realize that freedom without you isn't liberation at all, it's emptiness. They thought they could fill the void with distractions, other people, shallow encounters, and meaningless interactions. But it never quite works. It's like trying to quench your thirst with salt water. It might seem like it's solving the problem, but it only leaves them more desperate, more empty, and more regretful. In today's world, where casual dating and fleeting hookups are common, many people believe that moving on from someone is as easy as finding someone new. But they soon realize how wrong they are. You can't just replace someone who brought you emotional stability, understanding, and a real connection with a random fling or a temporary distraction. And that's the brutal truth that knocks them flat on their back. Let them experience this so-called freedom. Don't rush back in when they start to feel regret. Let them sit with that emptiness, the very emptiness they thought they could escape. The relief they felt at the beginning will only be temporary, but your absence will haunt them in ways they never anticipated. Let them feel it, the slow burn of realizing they lost someone they truly needed. The regret will hit harder than they ever expected, and they'll come to understand just how much you meant to them. Number 7. The desperate desire to play the game. Once the regret truly sinks in, panic sets in. They realize they've lost control, and now they're scrambling to get it back. How? By playing games. They start acting distant, deliberately pulling away and trying to make you jealous. They post pictures with other people, sharing seemingly carefree moments, making sure it looks like they're perfectly fine without you. Maybe they drop cryptic status updates about moving on, or post an overly staged selfie. It's all just an attempt to reel you back in, to make you wonder what they're up to, and get you to chase after them again. But here's the truth. You're not playing anymore. You've outgrown these petty games. You're beyond that childish behavior, and you're not even fazed by their attempts to provoke a reaction. The manipulation tactics they think will work, like playing hard to get or making you jealous, fall flat now that you've stopped chasing. You've had enough of the games, and when you don't bite, They'll throw everything they've got at you: passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated posts, or subtle digs on social media. But none of it matters. It doesn't work because you're no longer engaged in their drama. The moment you stop reacting is the moment their power over you slips away entirely. They're left scrambling, unable to manipulate or control you, and they're going to lose their mind over it. They need your attention to play their game, but now that you've stopped giving it to them, they'll be left flailing in their own desperation. Don't play into it. Don't respond to their cryptic posts. Don't even acknowledge the staged photos. Their game only works if you're participating. When you refuse to engage, it's a wake-up call for them that they've lost all leverage. Let them throw their tantrums, but stay strong and continue with your life. They'll be left frustrated and powerless. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most potent tools in your arsenal when you vanish. The absence of your words, your texts, your presence, it speaks volumes without a single sound. It leaves them alone with nothing but their thoughts. And here's the kicker: that silence becomes unbearable. It crushes them. They begin to question everything. Did I mess up? Did I take them for granted? They replay every conversation, every moment they ignored your calls, every time they shrugged off your messages. And now they'd do anything to hear from you again. Silence is pure torture for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to break the silence, to ask what went wrong, or beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and leave them in the quiet, wondering if they've lost you for good? It drives them wild. Every minute without your voice feels like an eternity, and with each passing day, their anxiety grows. They don't know how to deal with it because they're so accustomed to noise, texts, calls, notifications, instant everything. In today's world, where we're constantly connected, people expect instant responses and immediate resolution. When you don't give them that, it throws them into a spiral. They're used to the rhythm of a relationship, the back and forth, the talks, even the arguments. But silence is deafening. It makes them feel helpless, powerless. Let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't give explanations. Don't even try to comfort them. Let them sit with the weight of their own actions. Let them feel the impact of what they've lost. And let them understand that not having access to you is far worse than any fight or argument. The quiet is your statement, louder than words, more powerful than anything you could say. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. And now we hit the turning point, the moment when fear takes over. This is the part they never saw coming, the part that leaves them shaken to their core. For so long they were comfortable, complacent in the belief that you'd always be there. They took your presence for granted, thinking you would be the one who'd stick around no matter what. But now you're gone, and the fear creeps in, raw, overwhelming, and real. This fear hits them harder than anything they've experienced before. They start questioning everything. What if I've lost them for good? What if they've moved on? The thought of you with someone else, laughing, creating new memories, enjoying life without them, it consumes them. The more they picture you moving on, the more it eats away at them. They're no longer concerned with their pride, their ego, or playing it cool. The only thing that matters now is getting you back. And when fear takes over, they'll do things they swore they would never do. They'll reach out. They'll apologize. They'll beg. Expect long messages, tearful confessions, and pleas for forgiveness. Maybe they'll show up at your door, unannounced, hoping for a second chance. Their desperation will be obvious. But here's the hard truth. By the time they're gripped by that fear, you've already moved on. You've found your strength, your independence, and you've realized you don't need them to be whole. Their fear is real, but it's too late. They took you for granted, and now they have to face the consequences of their actions. When they come crawling back, don't give in. Don't give them a second chance just because they're afraid of losing you. You've already moved forward, and they need to understand that you're no longer an option to be taken lightly. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've proven your strength and stoicism. You've risen above the drama, found your worth, and now you're living life on your own terms. You've already learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, and now you're reaping the benefits of your self-respect and independence. Number 10. The realization of emotional independence. This is where it all comes together. The moment when you truly understand your own emotional independence. When you disappear from their life, you're not just leaving them behind. You're walking towards something much more powerful. Your own freedom, emotional clarity, and peace of mind. In many relationships, we become so wrapped up in trying to make the other person happy or proving our worth that we forget to take care of ourselves. We forget that we have the power to walk away, to demand better, and to put our own needs first. But once you've disappeared, once you've reclaimed your space and set your boundaries, you begin to see things differently. You stop seeking their validation. You stop caring what they think, how they feel, or what they want from you. The truth is, your happiness has never depended on them. And that realization, it's the most freeing, empowering experience you can have. This is your emotional independence, and here's the kicker. They feel it too. They can sense the shift in you. You're no longer the same person they once knew. You're stronger, wiser, and more confident. They see that you've outgrown them, that you no longer need them to feel complete. The tables have turned. While they remain stuck in their old ways, you've broken free from the toxic cycle of seeking validation. Now their opinion doesn't hold the power it once did. You've let go of the need for their approval, and that is your biggest victory. Don't go back to the way things were. Don't let them think they still have control over your happiness. You've found your emotional independence, and that's something they'll never be able to take from you. Keep moving forward, and remember, the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to never look back.